Our third session, looking at mindfulness and vibrant living. Today it is January 15th and we've stepped into our new year, and we're going to be looking at how we can embrace this year vibrantly, the vibrant way, with mindful tools and steps for successful intention and goal setting, and kind of what might be around that to help us do it even better with the most effectiveness. So there we go. Welcome everybody. We've got people in our Zoom chat today for this session, and we know that Wingsy posts these afterwards, so other people may be picking up on this after our recording today, which is great. So we really hope that you can use this time for you and get what you need with respect to our topic and theme for the day. Now this, like I said, is part 3. And today we have the honor of having a guest with us. She's going to have the conversation with me, with us, as we go through. So Debra Winter. Debra's an integrative energy healing practitioner and an instructor in the program that teaches this holistic healing modality. She has a private practice for the past 10 years in Vancouver, and Debra is currently in her graduate studies and will complete her Master of Clinical Counseling Psychology in 2022. So I know I've worked with Debra in a variety of settings, and it's always a pleasure and an honor. And she brings a lot of awesome experience, and really her heart she puts into everything she does. So I hope you can enjoy what Debra shares with us today, and pick up a few nuggets that can support you and your loved ones and whoever you connect with. So here we go. Welcome, Debra. We'll kind of go through and go back and forth a little bit. And what I would say to you is grab your journal or your note paper and your pen and kind of relax. We've got 1 hour, just under now, to go through our session today. Recommend that if you really want to get the most out of it, make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you're kind of sitting in a position where you can receive and take notes with comfort. So let's take it from there. Embracing 2021 the vibrant way. So we already did some introductions with Debra. And for those of you who haven't met me before, my background is primarily working in human resources and with seniors in a whole variety of settings as a support person, a coach, a resource. And I too went through the Integrative Energy Healing program at Langara, and love sharing some of the learnings and the modalities from that. So I'm currently working with Wisteria Place, a new seniors community that will be opening in June. Anyways, that's who I am. So just to review, we will go through our key points from the first 2 sessions very quickly. We're going to prepare through grounding and centering today, use another exercise for that. And we will look at what stands in the way, but we are definitely going to do some intention setting and talk about how we can do that best. And we're also going to, at the end of this, all of us find a way in our hearts to have some gratitude and celebration, because as we've talked about before, we cannot let, it's non-optional to not let yourself be in a place where celebration and gratitude are not something we do every day, as often as possible. So that comes up in a lot that we do. So just a quick review. We've talked about vibrant living. It's becoming a bit of a buzz term, but really it's you knowing for yourself what makes you feel vibrant, joyful, connected, aligned, passionate, all of that. So what brings you to that? And really, that's in your heart. Nobody else can tell you what vibrant living should look like. Mindfulness, yes, we've talked about that. And basically, the main definition we came up with was it's focusing on a desired outcome and practicing, paying attention to it and practicing. And that comes in different ways. And yes, there are different activities that can help us be more mindful. And we've talked about that being yoga, meditation, prayer, breath work. But honestly, just being present in whatever we're doing is living more mindfully. The blocks and barriers in our past sessions, we talked about rampant thinking and anxiety and letting that stay in control. And we also talked about the need to please and help others. And I know we're in the Caregivers Hub. So for sure, people who are coming here are either great caregivers themselves, or they're supporting or working with caregivers. It can be draining, but it can also take over and become a block and barrier to us being in our best vibrant selves. So take the time and notice what your blocks and barriers are. And we've also looked at bridging the steps from our old habits that don't serve us anymore, and moving into newer, more vibrant ways of living. And we said that noticing is a key first step. Being intentional about looking around us, in us, under. So noticing, step 1, 2, trusting, taking time to trust, looking where we're not trusting, allowing trust within ourselves, setting intentions, and then stepping into it, taking action, whatever those actions might be. And in our last session, we did some tapping for wellness, and we've reviewed some tools. We'll do more of that today, so it can develop those skills and ideas even further. So that's our review. Throwing this image out again because it's super important. So we need to trust ourselves and not just let the outside world take us here and there and everywhere. We've got to stop, and it's true, only we know what's right for us. It's not in other people around us. Granted, when we might be low or depressed or challenged, thank goodness we might have someone around us to point things out or help us a little bit. But really, when it comes down to it, if we allow it, our intuition will help serve us to find our best lives and existence. So it's funny, I can't see the top of my screen. You might not be able to either with the Zoom business at the top, but I believe we are on grounding, centering, and aligning. Because that picture reminds me of that. Am I right, Debra?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in past we've done little exercises, breath work, meditations and whatnot to get ourselves centered and grounded. Those are terms also that we hear a lot when we're working towards more mindful and vibrant living. And there's many different ways of doing it, and people have to find what's comfortable for them. But I'd love it, Debra, if you wouldn't mind leading us today in some grounding, centering for what we're aiming to get done today. And maybe just before you lead us in that, could you tell us why you think it's important, and yeah, what else comes to mind that you'd like to share with us?
Thank you. Okay, so with grounding, it's what's really important is that we want to be able to feel that we're totally within our own skin. And so, and to be able to make decisions and maneuver in our life from a place where we feel that we're being really our true, authentic selves. And so grounding provides an opportunity for us to come within, to take a breath, to step back a bit, and just to come right back into our center. So, and the importance of that is quite often in our lives, we're really stressed. I mean, especially if we're caregivers or we are supporting people that are caregivers, we have a lot going on. There's a lot of balls in the air. And what happens is our nervous system becomes on high alert. And so and quite often we're in that place of high alert. Kind of doesn't really matter where we are really in our culture, because a lot of us are really busy. So even a person working in a corporation or a teacher or I don't know, a lifeguard, everybody has a certain degree of stress that they're dealing with. And so what I think everybody needs to do is to come back into their center and to find that place of resource, resilience, and to calm their nervous system. When our nervous system is calm, then we're able to make rational decisions. And there's actually physiology around that, why that is the case. When we take a breath and we ground and we come back into our center, the front of our brain, which is that rational part of our brain, switches on. And it actually helps us to make better decisions. So that being said, let's give a go at some grounding, which you've done before with Maureen, but I'll lead us through it this time around. So what I ask you to do is just to, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes, and that allows you to come into yourself. If you want to keep your eyes open, fine, just have them down at an angle. And maybe you could focus on something pleasant, like a picture of a flower or something that's in your room that is pleasant to you. So in closing eyes, just notice your body sitting on the chair or the couch or wherever you are right now. Just noticing where your body is touching the chair and where it's not touching. And taking a breath in. And noticing your feet on the floor. Just noticing what parts of your feet are touching the floor and what aren't. And taking a breath in. And letting it go. And now noticing your clothes on your skin. Just noticing where your clothes are touching and where they're not touching. And taking a breath in and letting it go. So just coming right into your center. Just noticing your feet on the floor. Bringing your awareness to your feet. And breathing. And just imagine, we use our imagination with grounding, just imagining that your feet are softening. They're softening, and then you're feeling a connection with the earth, just breathing in that sense of the earth under your feet. Just noticing what that feels like. Just imagining that feeling of the earth is coming into your feet. And breathing that vibration, how do you notice it? Does it feel like a heat or a coolness or a vibration or a color? Just noticing. What is that like for you? almost feels like maybe your roots, there's roots going down into the earth, like a tree's roots are going down into the earth. And you can even imagine that those roots are maybe even wrapping around the earth or going to the center of the earth. And just breathing that feeling up into your feet. The earth that supports us. Just breathing that vibration up into your feet and up into your legs. And just right up into your hips. Just imagining that earth energy coming right up your legs and into your hips. It's up through the bones of the body. Just imagining that grounding earth energy is coming up through your spine. Just feeling that beautiful grounding right up and maybe right up into your heart space, right into the center of your heart space in the middle. Allowing that sense of the earth to come right up, maybe right up through your head and out the top of your head, and just let it spill around you, all the way around you. Just letting it shower down around you, right back down to the earth. Might even feel like it's dripping off of your fingertips. It's coming down your arms and then it comes back up your legs, right up into your heart space. And then you can even maybe imagine that there's like a connection up through your head, right up to the heavens or the sky or whatever you want to imagine, just like into your alignment. Right up through the top of your crown. And just connecting right up into the stars. Just maybe connecting to your own unique star that's up there somewhere. And just letting that sense of that lovely connection come down through your spine into your heart. And breathing into your heart space. So you might even imagine that you're connected to the earth and up through your crown. And so you're in this beautiful alignment. And from this place, this is where we can really set our good intentions. So breathing into your heart. And maybe just asking, what is it that my heart wants for me this year? What's my intention for this year? Just asking your heart and listening. And now taking a nice deep breath in and letting it go. And just bringing your awareness back down to your legs, down to your feet, just feeling that connection to the earth again. Just making sure you're nice and grounded, breathing into your feet. That's it. And you can give your fingers and toes a little wiggle. And opening your eyes, just looking around the room. Just looking around the room at the four corners of the room. And coming right back into the present moment. And I don't know if you can, if you want to, you can maybe even put in the chat what you noticed. What did you notice with that grounding exercise? It was brief, but if you feel like you want to put something in the chat, just do you feel more peaceful, or do you feel more connected, or how did it make you feel? If you feel like you want to put in the chat, you can. Okay. Great. So relax. Great. Helps me, closing my eyes, help me block out thoughts. Help me focus and get me connected to how I'm feeling this morning. Lovely. And to think, if we were to do that, just give ourselves, how long was that? 4 minutes, 3 minutes, something? Just give ourselves that time each morning to do that. What kind of purposeful day we could have and be more connected to our hearts. Mm-hmm. Okay, Maureen, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Debra. That was super relaxing. And, you know, one thing that you mentioned before we started, I feel like us human beings are always looking for the benefit and the reason. And one of the things you mentioned before we started was it's a biological fact that when we are calmer, we are absolutely more capable of making better, more rational decisions. And this grounding is one great way to bring ourselves back so that we're not all over the place with thoughts and different anxieties that in different situations we're in. So I love hearing that, and sometimes need to remind myself, you know, maybe don't make that decision right now. Take some time to be in a better place before you respond or decide. So thank you for reminding me of that piece. Yeah. And I know on our PowerPoint that we had earlier, we were looking at our next step to be actually doing a little bit of intention setting work. So if you can bear with me, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen, because I think it's time for us to do that. So people on the chat, now that Debra has us grounded, let's get out your pen and paper, whatever you're using. And I'm just going to lead us through a couple of pieces here. Okay, so what are my intentions for 2021? Saying yes and saying no. Okay, actually, Wingsy, do you mind pinning me to the screen? And actually what I'd like people to do, you know, here we are, we're sitting here in 2021. It's a fantastic opportunity, just like every day when we get up, to create the life and world we want. So what do we want from this brand new year that we're looking at? Or day, you know, you can take the chunk you want, but today we're looking at a whole year to connect with our heart, take control of our lives, and, you know, let go of ego and whatever else has been kind of leading the way more than ourselves. So I'm having just a slight little thing here. Bear with me. There we go. So one thought I had was, one intention I'm hoping we will all share, is that we're not going to let anything stand in the way of us actualizing what we desire and what's important to us and what brings us joy. So let's have a conversation. We're going to go through a few intention setting exercises. And the first one is on your paper with your pen. What I'd like you to do is jot down what you think your key life values are. What are the most important things to you? What do you value most in life? And just words, so pinpoints, just whatever comes to mind that you value most. It might be family, it might be work, it might be, but just honestly take a look and jot down on your paper your top key values. Okay. All right. And then as you move from that list of key values, I'd like you to write down, let's say, 1 to 3 of your strongest hopes, goals, intentions for yourself for this year. What comes to mind? What do you want the most to bring and manifest for yourself that will help this year be particularly vibrant for you? Okay, I don't want to rush you, but the idea is you've written down some of your values, just a couple of key intentions for the year. And now, as you look at those key intentions, ask yourself why. Why do you want those? What is it about that? Yeah, how will these intentions bring greater vibrancy to you and your life this year? And just notice that. And the next question is, how will these intentions impact your values? So you made a list of what you value most in life, and now you're setting some intentions. Do they connect? Are they aligned with your values? What can they do to enhance and keep those values alive for you? And this is something you can look at more later and you can go back to. But when you ask yourself these questions and relate it to your values, it really helps it feel more real, more intense, stronger. You get a stronger conviction or commitment because you know it's related to what you truly believe in and what you truly want. When you take the time to look at it from that fuller, deeper place, it helps it become more rooted within you. And all of that helps with your motivation and your ability to stick with your intentions. So I'm going to, because our time is limited here, and we really want to hear from Debra a bit more, I'll leave that with you. But in terms of setting your intentions, that is what I invite you to do. So after our session today, carve out some time for yourself when you can spend more time asking those questions and creating the list for yourself. And one thing that I would say is make it realistic. and keep those values in mind. Are they going to bring you more joy? Are they going to bring you more peace? Because I think a lot of us forget that joy is something we value. It is a value, as is peace. And frankly, we all need and deserve it. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to say about setting intentions. But in the slide that we have up, or no, we don't, but I had the intentions sign up about everything that happens in the universe begins with intention. So we definitely need to start with the intention. It's the beginning and then stepping into our action. But what are our intentions? And then if we are saying, yes, this is what I want, do we need to say no to something else to create space for this new way of being or this additional action that we want to have in our lives? What might be standing in the way? Well, that's worth asking. And I think Debra has an answer for us with a bit of tapping. Debra, if we were going to look at how do we remove barriers and blocks, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think that quite often when we are setting intentions, we have all the good intentions of the world in the world. So, we have New Year's resolutions that we set and, oh, I'm going to do this. And then quite often, I mean, how many people actually stick to their New Year's resolutions? I think it's probably pretty low. So because we've all lived these long lives and we have these ways that we do things that are ingrained in us, and those barriers just tend to keep coming up. And so, in this talk today, we're talking about how can we look at what stands in the way of those intentions. So if you look at your list of key values and your hopes and goals and the why of it and how will they impact your values, just choose one of those things. So what was one of your goals? And so looking at that, say, okay, maybe it was to set aside some time for myself each day, or maybe it's to make better choices in the food that you want to eat. Like mine was to be fit and lean and healthy. Okay, I'd like to do that. Okay, so I've been saying that for a really long time. So what's standing in the way of that? Okay, so I have all the good intentions. What's standing in the way? So maybe for me, it would be, well, this little voice that comes up that says, well, you've tried it so many times before, you're not going to be able to stick to it. Okay, so how do I work with that little voice that comes up? And one of the ways that we can work with that is through tapping or through bilateral regulation. The main piece is around grounding, and you want to ground yourself before you do your tapping. So that's why I want to go over it again. So notice your surroundings, take a few breaths, feel your feet on the floor, notice your clothes on your skin, feel the chair underneath your legs, okay? Take your shoes off and feel the grass under your feet, feel your feet on the floor, okay, and breathe. So these are some basic pieces around grounding. So make sure you do that before, because you want to come from that place where you're making good choices, right? And these are some really beautiful images, I think, of breathing, grounding, centering. These are ways that we can come into that place of making good choices and aligning, which we all did this morning. And now we're going to go into resourcing. Okay. So if I think about my goal of being fit, lean, and healthy, I might have this thought of, well, you've tried it so many times before, it's not going to work. So what I want to do is I want to look at what is really the thought there. Well, you've got this stress around it, Deb, because you've done it before, you can't do it again. Or you're just not that dedicated to it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is there's two different types of exercises we're going to try here. One is bilateral regulation. What we do is we can cross our hands over our chest, putting our feet on the floor. Don't cross your ankles. Keep your feet on the floor so you're nice and grounded. And you just want to slowly do this with your hands. It's called a butterfly hug. And you breathe. And very, very, very slowly, you lift your hands and down. And as I think about that, even though I feel that I won't be dedicated to being fit and healthy because I've tried so many times before, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. And then I say that 3 times. Even though I feel that I won't be dedicated because I've tried so many times before, I love and accept myself wholly and completely and unconditionally. And breathing. Even though I've tried so many times before, I love and accept myself wholly and completely and unconditionally. And taking a nice breath in. So you can do that with something that is standing in the way. Now, what's really a good thing to do is to actually put it on a scale of 0 to 10. So where do I fit on the scale? So maybe I would say a 7. So I started at a 7. And then I do my bilateral regulation like this, my butterfly hug. Or you can do it with your feet. You can lift one foot up and put it down very, very slowly and lift up the other one and put it down. And what this does is it actually engages the 2 sides of our brain and it calms our nervous system. So it is a practice that's been tried many, many different times in many different ways. And this researcher came up with this idea of doing it like this. And it's a very, very simple technique to calm the nervous system and to work with those pieces of us that stand in the way of our intention. So it helps us to calm our nervous system and bring in resilience. Now, I believe that Maureen worked with you with tapping before. So you can also do this with tapping. So the bilateral regulation is the simple way. And the man that created this, his name is Daniel Benor, took emotional freedom technique, which is tapping, and distilled it down to bilateral regulation. So let's look at the more complex way to do this. These pictures are taken from a book called The Science Behind Tapping. And tapping, I hope you can see that enough there. Tapping is works with the meridians of the body, so the energy lines. So like acupuncture, this is like acupressure. So we're actually tapping on meridians, and what it does is it helps us to reduce the stress around what our intention is. So I might say, even though we do the tapping, we do a setup statement first. Okay, so if I take my hand like this, take your hand like that, and there's a little point on the hand. This is called the karate chop point. And I want to cone the fingers of my dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. So I cone my right hand and I tap the left hand. Okay, so what is your intention? So even though I want to, become fit and lean and healthy, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. Or even though I've tried so many times before, but I've not stuck to it, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. Or if I can't say I love myself wholly and completely, I could say I'm still a good person, or I'm trying to accept myself, or I accept I have this problem. So tap on the outside of your hand with your right hand and say, even though I would like to be fit and healthy, but I've tried so many times before and it's not worked, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. And we do that 3 times. Even though I would like to be fit and healthy and lean, but I tried so many times before and it's not worked, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. Even though I've tried so many times before to be fit and healthy, but it's not worked, and I love myself, I love and accept myself wholly and completely. Okay, now take your 2 fingers and we're going to be tapping around the eye. So we're going to start with the inside of the eye and we just say this, I could call it this problem. Okay, so this problem, and I just say this problem on the outside of the eye, and I tap 7 times. And then under the eye, I'm going to tap 7 times. I'm going to say this problem. And then I'm going to go under my nose, and I'm going to just say this problem. And then under my chin, like underneath my lip, there, this problem. And then just at the collarbone, this problem, 7 times. And then I'm going to go underneath my arm right here, this problem, 7 times. And then on the top of my head, this problem. So now take a deep breath in. And just notice, how does that feeling feel? If we have put it on a scale of 0 to 10, where is it now? So I'd say, I feel like it's kind of dropped. I feel like I'm around maybe a 3 on that. So my feeling around that, my worry around that. So I'm just going to do it one more time. And I'm going to say, this remaining problem. Right? This remaining problem. This remaining problem. And then I'm going to say, this remaining problem. 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 And then close your eyes and let go of your breath, just taking some nice deep breaths in. And just notice how it feels now. For me, it feels lower. That's a technique that people can play with, and you can replay this back and give it a go again in the future.
Thank you, Debra. So, yeah, in our last session, we just briefly talked about EFT and we being WHEE, and did a little practice of the WHEE. And people at that time, and even today, we are just touching the tip of the iceberg in some ways, although these techniques are simple, but it does take practice for you to get to know them. But what I would say to our group today is, you know, yes, you can watch back, you might have notes, but there are some good websites too that you can look at. I'd say when you're looking, look for the founder of each program, because lots of people are putting stuff out there, but there are some other great videos that you can practice with afterwards. But in terms of our topic here today, you've really given us a great tool to help us stay calm, clear, And while we're intention setting, I mean, that can help us be more realistic and more focused on what's really important to us with our intentions themselves. But it's also a great tool as we work towards these changes this year. Should we become nervous, doubtful, afraid of making changes, these exercises truly make a big difference. So the grounding, the breathing, meditation, and these tapping exercises, which you call or has been called bilateral regulation. Fantastic to do for ourselves. Once we master it and understand it ourselves, they're great things to share with loved ones, even children when we're working with kids as caregivers and the people we're caring for. But I really appreciate you giving us a great technique that we can learn even more about. So you have planted some great seeds for us in that department. Looking at our intention to make this a great, vibrant year for ourselves, we need to remember that everyone, including you, needs and deserves to live their most vibrant life. And we forget that. We forget how liberating and helpful it even is for the people around us to see us making those good, healthy decisions for ourselves. Because when we're in joy, that spreads. So may you and I and all of us embrace this year for ourselves. So embrace it for you. Eliminate the blocks and say no to what you don't want and yes to what you do. Celebrate your awesomeness and celebrate your accomplishments each step along the way.